Hi, how are you doing? This is AWS By Doing. I'm Manu Vasudevan from the AWS By Doing team. Welcome to this educational video series, AWS By Doing, wherein you can learn AWS Cloud Computing by following along with an AWS Certified Solutions Architect. We acknowledge and thank the official AWS documentation material which we have used to produce this educational video. Although we will try to keep all resources consumed eligible for the free tier, ensuring that you are not charged or minimizing your charges is your responsibility. To minimize charges, remember to delete all created chargeable resources after each session. For more labs, check out the link to our full playlist from the description below. This time, we will walk you through a hands-on lab on viewing CloudTrail event history in the CloudTrail console, creating and updating a trail with the console, viewing and downloading your CloudTrail log files, sending events to CloudWatch Logs, stopping CloudTrail from sending events to CloudWatch Logs, turning off logging for a trail, and delete all created resources. Estimated cost for doing this hands-on? No charge, as in Amazon CloudTrail, one trail of management events is free per region and S3 usage up to 5 GB is free tier eligible. Prerequisite AWS skill level: beginner with general understanding of CloudTrail, S3, and CloudWatch concepts. To set up a free tier eligible AWS account and a user with sufficient permissions, check out our video on Create Admin User. To begin, fire up a browser, preferably Google Chrome, and head to aws.amazon.com. Sign into the AWS Management Console as a user with administrator credentials. AWS Cloudtrail is an AWS service that helps you enable governance, compliance, and operational and risk auditing of your AWS account. Actions taken by a user, role, or an AWS service are recorded as events in Cloudtrail. Events include actions taken in the AWS Management Console, AWS Command Line Interface, and AWS SDKs and APIs. CloudTrail is enabled on your AWS account when you create it. When activity occurs in your AWS account, that activity is recorded in a CloudTrail event. You can easily view recent events in the CloudTrail console by going to Event History. For an ongoing record of activity and events in your AWS account, create a trail. To view CloudTrail events, sign into the AWS Management Console and open the CloudTrail console. In the navigation pane, choose Event History. A filtered list of events appears in the Content pane with the latest event first. Scroll down to see more events. The default view of events in Event History has a filter applied so that it does not display read-only events. To remove this filter, or to apply other filters, change the filter settings. Displaying CloudTrail events. You can customize the display of event history by selecting which columns to display in the CloudTrail console. By default, the following columns are displayed: event time, username, event name, resource type, and resource name. You cannot change the order of the columns or manually delete events from event history. To customize the columns displayed in event history, sign into the AWS Management Console and open the CloudTrail console. In the navigation pane, choose Event History. Choose the gear icon. In Show Hide Columns, select the columns you want to display. Clear the columns you do not want to display. When you have finished, choose Save. Filtering CloudTrail events. The default display of events in Event History uses an attribute filter to exclude read-only events from the list of displayed events. This attribute filter is named read-only and it is set to false. You can remove this filter to display both read and write events. If you want to view only the read events, you can change the filter value to true. You can also filter events by other attributes. You can additionally filter by time range. You can only apply one attribute filter and a time range filter. You cannot apply multiple attribute filters. AWS Access Key. The AWS Access Key ID that was used to sign the request. If the request was made with temporary security credentials, this is the access key ID of the temporary credentials. Event ID, the CloudTrail ID of the event. Each event has a unique ID. Event name, the name of the event. For example, you can filter on IAM events such as create policy or Amazon EC2 events such as run instances. The event history shown is specific to the chosen region. Event source, the AWS service to which the request was made, such as iam.amazonaws.com or s3.amazonaws.com. You can scroll through a list of event sources after you choose the event source filter. Read-only, the read type of the event. Events are categorized as read events or write events. If set to false, read events are not included in the list of displayed events. By default, this attribute filter is applied and the value is set to false. Resource name, the name or ID of the resource referenced by the event. For example, the resource name might be Auto Scaling Test Group for an auto scaling group, or I123456 for an EC2 instance. This is the ID of a security group. Resource type, the type of resource referenced by the event. For example, a resource type can be instance for EC2 or DB instance for RDS. Resource types vary for each AWS service. Time range, the time range in which you want to filter events. You can filter events for the last 90 days. Username, the identity of the user referenced by the event. For example, this can be an IAM user, an IAM role name, or a service role. If there are no events logged for the attribute or time that you choose, the results list is empty. You can apply only one attribute filter in addition to the time range. If you choose a different attribute filter, your specified time range is preserved. The following steps describe how to filter by attribute. To filter the results by an attribute, choose Select Attribute, and then type or choose a value name in the Enter Lookup Value box. To remove an attribute filter, choose the X on the right of the attribute filter box. The following steps describe how to filter by a start and end, date, and time. To filter by a start and end date and time, to narrow the time range for the events that you want to see, choose Select Time Range. To remove a time range filter, choose the calendar icon on the right of the time range box and then choose Remove. Viewing details for an event. Choose an event in the results list to show its details. If the event referenced more than one resource, the additional resources are listed at the bottom of the Details pane. Some referenced resources have links. Choose the link to open the console for that resource. Choose View Event in the Details pane to view the event in JSON format. Choose the event again to close the Details pane. Downloading events. You can download recorded event history as a file in CSV or JSON format. Use filters and time ranges to reduce the size of the file you download. Cloudtrail event history files are data files that contain information such as resource names that can be configured by individual users. Some data can potentially be interpreted as commands and programs used to read and analyze this data, or CSV injection. For example, when Cloudtrail events are exported to CSV and imported to a spreadsheet program, that program might warn you about security concerns. You should choose to disable this content to keep your system secure. Always disable links or macros from downloaded event history files. Specify the filter and time range for events you want to download. For example, you can specify the event name, run instances, and specify a time range for the last 30 days of activity. Choose the download icon, and then choose Download CSV or Download JSON. The download starts immediately. After you review the download, close the Excel file. Your download might take some time to complete. For faster results, before you start the download process, use a more specific filter or a shorter time range to narrow the results. After your download is complete, open the file to view the events that you specified. To cancel your download, choose Cancel Download. While the events provided in the Event History view in the CloudTrail console are useful for reviewing recent activity, they are limited to recent activity and they do not include all possible events that can be recorded by CloudTrail. Additionally, your view of events in the console is limited to the AWS region where you are signed in. To create an ongoing record of activity in your AWS account that captures information for all AWS regions, create a trail. For your first trail, we recommend creating a trail that logs all management events in all AWS regions and does not log any data events. Examples of management events include security events such as IAM create user and attach role policy events, resource events such as run instances and create bucket, and many more. You will create an Amazon S3 bucket where you will store the log files for the trail as part of creating the trail in the CloudTrail console. This hands-on assumes you are creating your first trail. Depending on the number of trails you have in your AWS account and how those trails are configured, the following procedure might or might not incur expenses. In addition, CloudTrail stores log files in an Amazon S3 bucket. Starting August 10, 2020, the new CloudTrail console becomes the default experience. To create a CloudTrail trail with the AWS Management Console, sign into the AWS Management Console and open the CloudTrail console. You should still be able to switch back to the old console. Choose the AWS region where you want the trail to be created. Choose Get Started Now. If you do not see Get Started Now, choose Trails, and then choose Create Trail. On the Create Trail page, for trail name, type a name for your trail. For Apply Trail to all regions, choose Yes to receive log files from all regions. This is the default and recommended setting. If you choose No, the trail logs files only from the region in which you create the trail. For management events, do the following. For read-write events, choose if you want your trail to log all, read-only, write-only, or none. By default, trails log all management events. For log AWS KMS events, choose Yes to log AWS Key Management Service events in your trail. Choose No to filter AWS KMS events out of your trail. The default setting is Yes. The option to log or exclude AWS KMS events is available only if you log management events on your trail. If you choose not to log management events, AWS KMS events are not logged, and you cannot change AWS KMS event logging settings. AWS KMS actions such as encrypt, decrypt, and generate data key typically generate a large volume, more than 99% of events. These actions are not logged as read events. Low-volume, relevant AWS KMS actions such as disable, delete, and schedule key, which typically account for less than 0.5% of AWS KMS event volume, are logged as write events. To exclude high-volume events like encrypt, decrypt, and generate data key, but still log relevant events such as disable, delete, and schedule key, choose to log write-only management events and choose Yes for Log AWS KMS. In Insights Events, for Log Insights Events, choose Yes if you want your trail to log Insights Events. By default, trails don't log Insights Events. Additional charges apply for logging Insights Events. Insights events are delivered to a different folder named /CloudTrail-insight of the same S3 bucket that is specified in the storage location area of the trail details page. CloudTrail creates the new prefix for you. For example, if your current destination S3 bucket is named S3 bucket name /AWS logs /CloudTrail / the S3 bucket name with the new prefix is named S3 bucket name /AWS logs /CloudTrail-insight /. For data events, you can specify logging data events for Amazon S3 buckets, for AWS Lambda Functions, or both. By default, trails don't log data events. Additional charges apply for logging data events. You can select the option to log all S3 buckets and Lambda functions, or you can specify individual buckets or functions. For Amazon S3 buckets, choose the S3 tab. To specify a bucket, choose Add S3 Bucket. Type the S3 bucket name and prefix optionally for which you want to log data events. For each bucket, specify whether you want to log read events such as getObject, write events such as putObject, or both. To log data events for all S3 buckets in your AWS account, select all S3 buckets in your account. Then choose whether you want to log read events, such as getObject, write events, such as putObject, or both. This setting takes precedence over individual settings you configure for individual buckets. For example, if you specify logging read events for all S3 buckets, and then choose to add a specific bucket for data event logging, read is already selected for the bucket you added. You cannot clear the selection. You can only configure the option for write. Selecting the Select All S3 Buckets in Your Account option enables data event logging for all buckets currently in your AWS account and any buckets you create after you finish creating the trail. It also enables logging of data event activity performed by any user or role in your AWS account, even if that activity is performed on a bucket that belongs to another AWS account. If the trail applies only to one region, selecting the Select All S3 Buckets in Your Account option enables data event logging for all buckets in the same region as your trail and any buckets you create later in that region. It will not log data events for Amazon S3 buckets in other regions in your AWS account. To avoid charges, don't enable any S3 bucket logging. For Lambda functions, choose the Lambda tab. To specify logging individual functions, select them from the list. If you have more than 15,000 Lambda functions in your account, you cannot view or select all functions in the CloudTrail console when creating a trail. You can still select the option to log all functions even if they are not displayed. If you want to log data events for specific functions, you can manually add a function if you know its ARN. You can also finish creating the trail in the console and then use the AWS CLI and the put event selectors command to configure data event logging for specific Lambda functions. To log data events for all Lambda functions in your AWS account, select Log All Current and Future Functions. This setting takes precedence over individual settings you configure for individual functions. All functions are logged, even if all functions are not displayed. If you are creating a trail for all regions, this selection enables data event logging for all functions currently in your AWS account and any Lambda functions you might create in any region after you finish creating the trail. If you are creating a trail for a single region, this selection enables data event logging for all functions currently in that region in your AWS account, and any Lambda functions you might create in that region after you finish creating the trail. It does not enable data event logging for Lambda functions created in other regions. Logging data events for all functions also enables logging of data event activity performed by any user or role in your AWS account, even if that activity is performed on a function that belongs to another AWS account. To avoid charges, do not log any Lambda function. For S3 bucket, type a name for the bucket you want to designate for log file storage. The name must be globally unique. For tags, add one or more custom tags or key value pairs to your trail. Tags can help you identify both your CloudTrail trails and the Amazon S3 buckets that contain CloudTrail log files. You can then use resource groups for your CloudTrail resources. To configure advanced settings for your trail, for a storage location, choose Advanced. In the log file prefix field, type a prefix for your Amazon S3 bucket. The prefix is an addition to the URL for an Amazon S3 object that creates a folder-like organization in your bucket. The location where your log files will be stored appears under the text field. For encrypt log files with SSE KMS, choose Yes if you want to encrypt your log files with SSE KMS instead of SSE S3. For create a new KMS key, choose Yes to create an AWS KMS customer master key, or No to use an existing one. If you chose Yes, in the KMS key field, type an alias. CloudTrail encrypts your log files with the customer master key and adds the policy for you. If you chose No, choose an existing AWS KMS customer master key. You can also type the ARN of a key from another account. The key policy must allow CloudTrail to use the key to encrypt your log files and allow the users you specify to read log files in unencrypted form. For send SNS notification for every log file delivery, choose Yes if you want to be notified each time a log is delivered to your bucket. CloudTrail stores multiple events in a log file. SNS notifications are sent for every log file, not for every event. For enable log file validation, choose Yes to have log digest delivered to your S3 bucket. You can use the digest files to verify that your log files did not change after CloudTrail delivered them. For create a new SNS topic, choose Yes to create a topic, or choose No to use an existing topic. If you are creating a trail that applies to all regions, SNS notifications for log file deliveries from all regions are sent to the single SNS topic that you create. If you chose No, choose an existing topic. You can also enter the ARN of a topic from another region or from an account with appropriate permissions. If you chose Yes, in the SNS topic field, type a name. If you create a topic, you must subscribe to the topic to be notified of log file delivery. You can subscribe from the Amazon SNS console. Due to the frequency of notifications, we recommend that you configure the subscription to use an Amazon SQS queue to handle notifications programmatically. For this hands-on, select No for all options under Advanced. Choose Create. After you choose Create, the new trail appears on the Trails page. The Trails page shows the trails in your account from all regions. In about 15 minutes, CloudTrail publishes log files that show the AWS API calls made in your account. You can see the log files in the S3 bucket that you specified. It can take up to 36 hours for CloudTrail to deliver the first Insights event if you have enabled Insights event logging and unusual activity is detected. You can't rename a trail after it has been created. Instead, you can delete the trail and create a new one. To update your trail, sign into the AWS Management Console and open the CloudTrail console. Choose Trails and then choose a trail. To make updates for trail settings, choose the pencil icon, specify if you want your trail to apply to a single region or all regions, and then choose Save. For management events, do the following. For read-write events, choose if you want your trail to log all, read-only, write-only, or none, and then choose Save. By default, trails log all management events. For log AWS KMS events, choose Yes to log AWS Key Management Service events in your trail. Choose No to filter AWS KMS events out of your trail. The default setting is Yes. The option to log or exclude AWS KMS events is available only if you log management events on your trail. If you choose not to log management events, AWS KMS events are not logged, and you cannot change AWS KMS event logging settings. In Insights events, for log Insights events, choose Yes if you want your trail to log Insights events. By default, trails don't log Insights events. For data events, choose the pencil icon or Configure, make your changes, and then choose Save. By default, trails don't log data events. For storage location, choose the pencil icon to update the settings for the following: the S3 bucket with optional prefix that is receiving your log files, log file encryption with AWS KMS, log file validation for logs, and the Amazon SNS topic to notify you when log files are delivered. Now choose Save or Cancel. Within 15 minutes of creating your first trail, CloudTrail delivers the first set of log files to the Amazon S3 bucket for your trail. You can look at these files and learn about the information they contain. In the navigation pane, choose Trails. On the Trails page, find the name of the trail you just created. Make sure you are still signed in using the IAM user you configured for Cloudtrail administration. Otherwise, you might not have sufficient permissions to view trails in the Cloudtrail console or the Amazon S3 bucket that contains log files for that trail. In the row for that trail, find the value for the S3 bucket. Choose it. The Amazon S3 console opens and shows that bucket at the top level for log files. Because you created a trail that logs events in all AWS regions, the display opens at the level that shows you each region folder. The hierarchy of the Amazon S3 bucket navigation at this level is bucket name /AWS logs /AWS account ID /Cloudtrail. Choose the folder for the AWS region where you want to review log files. For example, if you want to review the log files for the US East Ohio region, choose US East 2. Cloudtrail publishes log files to your S3 bucket in a gzip archive. In the S3 bucket, the log file has a formatted name that includes the following elements: the bucket name that you specified when you created trail, found on the trail page of the Cloudtrail console, the optional prefix you specified when you created your trail, the string AWS logs, the account number, the string Cloudtrail, a region identifier such as US West 1, the year the log file was published in 4Y format, the month the log was published in MM format, the day the log file was published in DD format, and an alphanumeric string that disambiguates the file from others that cover the same time period. Although uncommon, you may receive log files that contain one or more duplicate events. Duplicate events will have the same event ID. To download and read a log file, open the Amazon S3 console. Choose the bucket and choose the log file that you want to download. Choose Download or Download As and follow the prompts to save the file. This saves the file in compressed format. Open the log file in a text editor such as Notepad++. Configuring CloudWatch Logs, monitoring with the console. You can use the AWS Management Console to configure your trail to send events to CloudWatch Logs for monitoring. Creating a log group or specifying an existing log group. Cloudtrail uses CloudWatch Logs log group as a delivery endpoint for log events. You can create a log group or specify an existing one. To create or specify a log group, make sure you are logged in with an administrative IAM user or role with sufficient permissions to configure CloudWatch Logs integration. Open the Cloudtrail console. Choose the trail name. If you choose a trail that applies to all regions, you will be redirected to the region in which the trail was created. You can create a log group or choose an existing log group in the same region as the trail. A trail that applies to all regions sends log files from all regions to the CloudWatch Logs log group that you specify. For CloudWatch Logs, choose Configure. For new or existing log group, type the log group name and then choose Continue. For the IAM role, choose an existing role or create one. If you create an IAM role, type a role name. Choose Allow to grant Cloudtrail permissions to create a CloudWatch Logs log stream and deliver events. Amazon CloudWatch will display the log group that you created for Cloudtrail events alongside any other log groups you have in a region. We recommend that you use a log group name that helps you easily distinguish the log group from others. For example, Cloudtrail/logs. Log group names can be between 1 and 512 characters long. Allowed characters include upper and lowercase a through z, 0 through 9, underscore, hyphen, /, and period. When Cloudtrail creates the log stream for the log group, it names the log stream according to the following format: account ID, Cloudtrail, source region. If the volume of Cloudtrail logs is large, multiple log streams may be created to deliver log data to your log group. You can specify a role for Cloudtrail to assume to deliver events to the log stream. To specify a role, by default, the Cloudtrail CloudWatch Logs role is specified for you. The default role policy has the required permissions to create a CloudWatch Logs log stream in a log group that you specify and to deliver Cloudtrail events to that log stream. To verify the role, go to the AWS Identity and Access Management console. Choose Roles, and then choose Cloudtrail CloudWatch Logs role. To see the contents of the role policy, choose View Policy Document. You can specify another role but you must attach the required role policy to the existing role if you want to use it to send events to CloudWatch Logs. After you configure your trail to send events to your CloudWatch Logs log group, you can view the events in the CloudWatch console. Cloudtrail typically delivers events to your log group within a few minutes of an API call. To view events in the CloudWatch console, open the CloudWatch console. Choose Logs. Choose the log group that you specified for your trail. Choose the log stream name. To see the details of the event that your trail logged, choose an event. The time UTC column in the CloudWatch console shows when the event was delivered to your log group. To see the actual time that the event was logged by Cloudtrail, see the Event Time field. To remove the CloudWatch Logs delivery endpoint using the AWS Management Console, sign into the AWS Management Console. Navigate to the Cloudtrail console. Navigate to your trail. In the CloudWatch Logs optional section, click the Delete Trash Can icon. Click Continue to confirm. You have removed the CloudWatch Logs delivery endpoint. To delete the created CloudWatch Logs created by Cloudtrail, sign into the CloudWatch console. On the navigation pane, select Log Groups. Check the Cloudtrail log group, and from the Actions dropdown, select Delete Log Groups. Confirm by clicking on Delete. You have deleted the CloudWatch Logs created by Cloudtrail. It's cleanup time! To turn off logging for a trail with the Cloudtrail console, sign into the AWS Management Console and open the Cloudtrail console. In the navigation pane, choose Trails, and then choose the trail that you want to configure. At the top of the configuration page, choose Logging to turn off logging for the trail. When the Stop Logging message appears, choose Continue. Cloudtrail stops logging activity for that trail. To resume logging for that trail, choose Logging again. To delete a trail with the Cloudtrail console, sign into the AWS Management Console and open the CloudTrail console. Navigate to the Trails page of the CloudTrail console for the region in which the trail was created. Choose the trail name. At the top of the configuration page, choose the trash icon. Choose Delete to delete the trail permanently. The trail is removed from the list of trails for the region. Log files that were already delivered to the Amazon S3 bucket are not deleted. You can empty a bucket, which deletes all of the objects in the bucket without deleting the bucket. When you empty a bucket with versioning enabled, all versions of all the objects in the bucket are deleted. To empty an S3 bucket, sign into the AWS Management Console and open the Amazon S3 console. In the bucket name list, select the option next to the name of the bucket that you want to empty, and then choose Empty. On the Empty Bucket page, confirm that you want to empty the bucket by entering the bucket name into the text field, and then choose Confirm. Optionally, monitor the progress of the bucket emptying process on the Empty Bucket status page. To delete an S3 bucket, in the Buckets list, select the option next to the name of the bucket that you want to delete and then choose Delete at the top of the page. On the Delete Bucket page, confirm that you want to delete the bucket by entering the bucket name into the text field and then choose Confirm. You have deleted the logging S3 bucket. Thanks for following along. Please like this video to encourage us and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Also, subscribe to this channel, AWS By Doing, and we will update you regularly with our latest and greatest offerings. Write in a comment of what you liked and how we can improve. Again, check out our playlist for more labs from the link in the description below. Happy cloud computing, and we will see you again in the next episode from the AWS By Doing team.